Alright, so I've got my site topography model and my boundary. So that gives me enough to then go and set up the other critical dimensions, focusing mostly on the set out of these walls. So the drawing I've given you deliberately has the windows left out because you shouldn't need to factor those in when you're setting out your walls. In fact, it's going to hold you back if you start thinking about those openings. I should have even taken this door out. Okay, because you don't want to be thinking about the openings when you're drawing in the walls. The walls come first, the openings then come later. So we've got the measurements there that give us the setback, in other words, the distance of those walls from the boundary. And that's where we need to start. And so I did put some measurements over here, but I didn't add that up. Yeah, I'll have a look at that. So, okay, so remember for things like setbacks, you can use reference planes to help you with those measurements. So on the architecture tab, I'm going to do this in the site floor plan, but if you're doing it in ground floor, that would be the same. So again, I'm going to go to draw a reference plane, and it's asking me to save. Well, when it reminds you, that's maybe a good indication that you haven't saved the project, so you should generally click Save the Project when this message comes up. It's a good reminder. And remember, save onto the V drive, not onto your memory sticks, because that will often create errors. So saving it here. Okay, so you can all see my files, but that's not going to help you much, because this is the easy part. So I'm going to call it Tiny House. Okay, so then I'm going to draw a reference plane, continuing on, just crossing over the boundaries like so. So it's a vertical plane that I'm drawing. And then you can see it hadn't given me a dimension from that front boundary. So now I'm going to go to the dimension tool up on the ribbon there. And whenever you see that dimension icon, you can just choose it, the one with the dimension of an angle. That's a line dimension. And that's the one you should be using in Revit, mostly. Okay, so it's there. You'll also see it's there permanently on this quick access toolbar at the top. It's the same icon there. So you can go to it any time from there. But this button's bigger, so I'll choose it off that Modify tab if it's there. Align dimension. And then I'm going to pick the front boundary and then my reference plane, and then place the dimension off to the side so I can read it easily. And then, as before, I'm going to cancel twice to finish drawing dimensions. And that means I'm back in my default select mode. In other words, I can select anything. So I'll select that reference plane, and now I can change this dimension. And that's another important thing that I'm showing you there. Realising that to adjust a dimension, you normally need to select the object you want to move, not the dimension. And I know it's tempting to just click on the dimension because that's where you'll see the measurement, that's what you want to change. But if you click on the dimension, notice how the numbers haven't gone in that light blue colour. So we can't change them. You'll get a different option if you try and click on the number there, that's to do something else. So I can't change that measurement in here. But again, the secret is to not focus on the dimension, but think about what you're trying to move. And so in this case, I wanted to move the reference plane, so when I select it, then the numbers go to that light blue, and we know we can change them. So I'll repeat that over on the other end. I'm going to draw another reference plane. And again, just crossing over the boundaries like so, making sure it's vertical or 90 degrees. And then again, I'll click on the Align Dimension to draw my my new dimension from the reference plane to the rear boundary, and then clicking above to place it to the side, and cancelling so I can select my new reference plane. And now again I can change that measurement to 2760. And so then we have a, now this is where some of my setouts probably are missing, but we can work it out. So again I'm going to draw another reference plane, this time just above the northern boundary, this one at the bottom. So again, just by eye, I'll click above that, take it over to the right, and then click again to finish it. And again, draw another dimension, here to here. And so if you're trying to place your dimensions and you find that they sometimes disappear or don't do what you want, the trick to placing them is to choose a point where there are no objects. If you click on something else, Revit thinks you want to measure to that. So notice how it's highlighting all these different things. It's highlighting that boundary there, and if I click there now, it's going to give me another measurement. But I can turn that off just by clicking on that same boundary, and now it's back to trying to place my dimension. And again, the trick is to just click on a point where there are no objects. So maybe outside of the boundary is a good place for this. Alright, so then again, cancelling, I can select my new reference plane, and the measurement for this should be 750. And then for the last one, I just need, oh sorry, there are two more. So we've got, I've left a dimension off though, which is slack of me. So, left a couple off, actually. So, I'll draw a reference plane then roughly in the middle. And then, again, draw a dimension from this reference plane on the right to my new one. Again, place it, select the reference plane, and here it is, you can see on the drawing 5650, but we've got to add the wall thicknesses, so that makes it 6150. Oops, without the apostrophe, 6150. And then, so this one you'll see on my drawing, I left off the measurement for this wall here. But it'll be on Alan's drawings, I'm sure. There it is. So it's 800. Okay, so again, another reference plane. And this time it's giving me a dimension because it's measuring from another reference plane. So that's come up automatically. So I can click there to change it to 800. And also I can click on that little symbol underneath, and that'll draw in a dimension for me. So now again I can cancel and then just select that dimension and drag it into position. And if you're fussy like me, you might want to line them all up. It's good practice just to try moving these dimensions. You don't have to do it, but it's not a bad thing to try. Okay, so I've got enough to draw most of the walls. I just need one more over here. So what I might do though, just to make it easier to read, is start stretching some of these reference planes so that they go only for the length where I need them. So just makes it easier to read when you do that. So you can see there, this clearly shows that it's the dimension for that segment of the wall there, just by shortening the reference plane. there. And so now, again, we draw that final reference plane across just above the section line there. And so we've got the measurements here, just need to add that up. So it's, if you're not sure where I'm looking, it's these measurements over here. So it's 1215 plus 250 plus 250. Okay, so that's, so again, I'll draw a dimension in from here to the boundary, place that over to the side, and we know it is 18, 15. Sorry, what was I saying? 1715. Okay, so 1215 plus 500. And there we are. So they're all the reference planes we need to set out the outside walls. And then in an elevation, I'm going to go to south. We can draw the levels. And that won't take very long because we only have a few levels to make. So the one called ground floor, I'm going to change and just call it ground. So I'm just clicking on the name there, and I'm going to change that to ground. So that's going to be our ground line. And remember, when you see this message, always say yes to rename corresponding views. So what that'll do is change the floor plan over here from ground floor to ground as well as the level. They are different things, the level and the floor plan, but we want the names to change together. Then I'm going to draw another level, again on the architecture tab, level, and I'll go then in between ground and level 1, just anywhere, as long as it's in between. And I'm going left to right, so starting on the left, I can then continue to the right and click to place my new level. And I'll zoom in to change the name to lower floor. And again, yes to rename corresponding views. While I'm at it, I'll change the height of this to 300. And you can see that it's overlapping. Now, you can of course adjust the height of that label, but remember, you can also change the scale. Here I'm going to make it 1 to 50, and that'll make the text a bit smaller as well. But I still will adjust the tag by selecting that level. You need to look for this little break symbol, which adds an elbow, and then you can move that text so that it's easier to read the text underneath. So adjust the position of these as much as you want to as well. And then for the upper floor, I'm going to change the name of level 1, again just to upper floor. And then the height of this is 2800. And then I'll continue making new levels. So I'll again just draw from left to right. So this will become upper floor CL, ceiling line, ceiling level, sorry. And again, yes, to rename, and the height of this 5300. And then finally, we'll make a level for the parapet. This will come later. We don't need to work with this for a while, but it doesn't hurt to put it in now. Again, just left to right. And I'm going to call this parapet. 6, oops, sorry. chaps. And the height is 6355. There we are. So, just going to show you one little extra thing, just so you can get a better idea of your heights, and to continue working with dimensions. I'm going to go and make a new dimension using that button up on the toolbar there. Same tool I was using before, align dimension. And I'm going to then just choose my lower floor level, and then the upper floor, and then the upper floor CL, and then just click in between those levels to place my dimension, and that will give us a pretty good idea of the ceiling heights. So have a look at this with, is it Kay you've all got for your studio class? Great, excellent, good. Because she knows this project pretty well, and I know she's going to be have a good practical approach to things like your ceiling heights. So I just wanted to see that so you know what you're working with. This is your floor-to-floor height. So from the ground floor to the upper floor is 2,500. That's very low. And so if you include then the floor and the ceiling structure that's here, that'll probably be about, realistically it's probably about 300, but maybe you can get it down to maybe 200 at the smallest. And that means you're left with 2,300. Do you know what the minimum ceiling height is normally? 24. So you're already under. But you can work with that because that's existing. So you can actually keep that. But you just need to be aware of that in the beginning, so I just wanted to show you that. So again, just by drawing these dimensions, Revit's doing the adding up for us. We can see it's 2,500 measuring between the levels, whereas when we look at the levels over here, we'd have to subtract those measurements to work it all out. So it's a nice thing to draw in the dimensions and just have that there when you need it. And that's it. So that establishes the constraints. If that's all working for you, have a go at drawing the walls, but I will demonstrate that afterwards as well. So yeah, I'll give you some time to work on that.